Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Starry Sleep. Tonight, we begin a calm journey into the ancient world of dinosaurs. Before we start, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? And what time is it right now? If you enjoy these peaceful stories, please remember to like this video and subscribe to Starry Sleep so you never miss the next adventure. Now, find a comfortable place, let your thoughts slow down, and let us travel together back to the age of giants. Long before humans, long before cities and stories, there was a world untouched by our kind, a world of silence, broken only by the winds, by rivers carving stone, by oceans breathing with the tides. The earth was young, but already ancient. The continents were not as they are today. They were joined together in a single massive land called Pangaea. Across this land stretched deserts wider than imagination, forests of tall conifers, swamps filled with ferns and horsetails, and rivers that carried life from mountain to sea. This was the Triassic period. Over 230 million years ago, life was recovering from the greatest extinction the planet had ever seen, an extinction that had ended the Permian, wiping away most of what had lived before. In this new emptiness, new creatures emerged, strange reptiles, with armored backs, with tusks, with fins upon their spines. Among them, small and fragile, were the first true dinosaurs. They were not yet giants. They were not yet rulers. They were survivors, carving a place in a dangerous world. Some were small predators, light and fast, hunting insects, or chasing after lizards in the underbrush. Others were herbivores, walking on two legs, nibbling at ferns, gathering in cautious groups. They were not alone. The world was filled with other reptiles. Crocodile-like hunters lurked near rivers. Huge amphibians slid through swamps. Strange mammal-like reptiles wandered the plains. Competition was fierce, survival uncertain, but the dinosaurs carried traits that gave them an edge. They stood upright, with legs beneath their bodies, not sprawling to the side like lizards. This gave them speed and endurance. They had light bones, strong muscles, efficient lungs, built for motion, built for growth. In the heat of Pangaea, these advantages mattered. They could move farther, hunt longer, escape faster, and slowly, quietly, they spread. First in the south, then across the great continent, from deserts to forests, from rivers to coasts. They were still small, but they were patient. The age of dinosaurs had begun, though few could have guessed what they would one day become. As the Triassic world turned, volcanoes shook the land, mountains rose, rains carved valleys, forests spread in green waves, and within those forests, the first great lineages of dinosaurs appeared. Theropods, the hunters, sharp-toothed, quick-footed, ancestors of predators yet to come. Sauropodomorphs, the plant-eaters, long-necked, already stretching toward the trees, setting the path for giants. Ornithischians, the future herds, beaked mouths, simple but effective, the beginnings of a lineage that would one day fill plains with numbers. They were small, yes, but their story had only just begun. The Triassic sun rose, the Triassic sun set, and with each passing day, the dinosaurs grew stronger, their place in the world more certain. Other reptiles would fade, many would vanish, but dinosaurs would endure. They would rise to dominate the land, to shape ecosystems for 160 million years. But in these first days, they were shadows in the underbrush, barely noticed, waiting for their time. And that time was coming. The Triassic world was a place of extremes. The land was hot. The air was dry. Much of Pangaea was covered in vast deserts. But along the coasts, and in valleys where rivers carved the stone, forests of conifers and cycads spread, green oases in a sea of red sand. Ferns carpeted the ground. Horsetails rose beside streams. Ginkgo trees lifted fans of leaves into the sky. It was not yet a world of flowers. That would come later. But it was a green world, enough to feed the small herbivores that walked carefully in the shadows. Among the trees, early dinosaurs hunted and grazed. But they were not yet rulers. Other creatures dominated the land. There were massive amphibians, long-bodied, with wide mouths, lurking in swamps, ambushing anything that moved. There were reptilian giants, like Rauisuchians, standing tall on pillar-like legs, predators as fearsome as any later dinosaur. There were synapsids too, relatives of the ancestors of mammals, some small and quick, others heavy and tusked. In this crowded world, the first dinosaurs lived carefully, avoiding larger hunters, feeding where they could. Tealophysis, one of the earliest theropods, slender, light-boned, with sharp teeth, hunting insects, small reptiles, even scavenging when needed. Platosaurus, a sauropodomorph, already growing larger, with a long neck and sturdy body, feeding on ferns and cycads, moving in loose groups across floodplains. Eoraptor, small and swift, one of the earliest known, its teeth mixed, some sharp, some flat, suggesting it ate both meat and plants. Each was an experiment in survival. The Triassic world tested them, with heat, with drought, with predators, and with competition. But dinosaurs adapted. They moved on two legs, balancing speed and vision. They breathed with efficiency, better than many of their rivals. They grew quickly, reaching maturity faster, traits that would serve them well in centuries to come. Still, they were not yet many. They were not yet mighty. They were part of a struggling ecosystem, one where every creature fought for space, for food, for life. And overhead, other rulers filled the skies. The first pterosaurs, winged reptiles, soared above rivers and coasts, their wings of stretched skin, their bodies light and agile. They hunted fish. They glided on warm winds. They were the first vertebrates to conquer the skies, long before birds. In the oceans, too, reptiles ruled. Ichthyosaurs, shaped like dolphins, swift and sleek, patrolled the seas. Nothosaurs, with long necks and sharp teeth, hunted fish in shallow waters. The world was divided. Land for reptiles and dinosaurs, air for pterosaurs, sea for ichthyosaurs. It was a time of beginnings, a time of experiments in form and life. And as the Triassic moved toward its end, the Earth itself stirred. Volcanoes erupted. Tectonic plates shifted. Rivers changed their paths. Forests burned and regrew. And through it all, the dinosaurs endured. Still small, still shadowed by other reptiles. But steady, patient, the Triassic world was theirs to survive. And soon, it would be theirs to rule. The Triassic ended in fire. Volcanoes erupted. Ash darkened the skies. The climate shifted violently. Many of the great reptiles vanished. And in the silence that followed, A new age began. This was the Jurassic. The continents were drifting apart. Pangea slowly breaking. New coastlines forming. Oceans widening. The climate grew warmer. Rains returned. Forests spread wide and deep, greener than ever before. Conifers towered into the sky. Tree ferns rose high. Cycads thickened the landscape, and ginkgos unfurled their fans. It was a world built for giants. And the dinosaurs answered. Sauropods, the long-necked herbivores, became colossal. Diplodocus, stretching over 25 meters, with a whip-like tail and a neck that swept across the treetops. Brachiosaurus, with forelegs taller than its hind, holding its head high, feeding from the very tops of conifers. Like no other creature could. Apatosaurus, heavy and solid, moving in herds, each step shaking the ground. These were the giants of the Jurassic, the largest land animals ever to walk the earth. But where there were herbivores, there were hunters. Allosaurus, the top predator of the age, with jaws lined with serrated teeth, eyes forward, built for pursuit and power. Ceratosaurus, with a horn upon its nose, a fierce rival in forests and floodplains. Smaller theropods, swift and sharp, hunted in packs, chasing the young, the weak, the unwary. It was an arms race of size and speed. Plant eaters grew larger for safety. Hunters grew stronger to match them. The land was alive with thunder, of feet, of tails, of predators and prey. But the Jurassic world was not only land. In the skies, pterosaurs soared in greater numbers, from small insect hunters to giants with wings wider than rooms. They ruled the air. Along coasts, they nested in colonies, crying over waves, fishing in shallow seas, and in the oceans. The ichthyosaurs thrived, shaped like dolphins, but reptilian, swift hunters of fish and squid. Plesiosaurs, too, rose to dominance. With long necks and wide flippers, they glided gracefully through waters, ambushing prey from below. The Jurassic world was rich, diverse, vast. It was a time when dinosaurs truly rose, from small survivors to rulers of the land. Sauropods filled the plains. Stegosaurs swung spiked tails. Predators stalked the forests. Pterosaurs owned the skies. Marine reptiles owned the seas. For millions of years, the balance held. Each dawn began with herds moving across valleys. Each dusk ended with hunters searching the shadows. The Jurassic was an age of abundance, an age of giants, an age that belonged to the dinosaurs. The land belonged to the dinosaurs, but the skies belonged to another kind of reptile, the pterosaurs, with wings of skin and muscle, stretched over elongated fingers. They were the first vertebrates to master the air. They rose during the Triassic, but in the Jurassic and Cretaceous, they flourished. From small hunters the size of sparrows to giants with wings wider than a bus, they filled the skies of the ancient world. Some hunted fish, diving into seas, with slender jaws lined with teeth. Others chased insects, snapping them from the air, with swift turns and agile wings. Some were scavengers, gliding high on thermal winds, watching the land below, waiting for the dead to feed upon. Their forms were many, their strategies diverse. Pteranodon, with wings over 7 meters wide, toothless beak, soaring across ancient coasts. Rhamphorhynchus, with long tails ending in a diamond-shaped vein, small but skillful, catching fish near the surface of the sea. Dimorphodon, with a large head and sharp teeth, among the early flyers of the Jurassic. And in the late Cretaceous, Quetzalcoatlus, one of the largest flying animals ever known, with wings stretching over 10 meters, towering on the ground like a giraffe, yet able to launch into the air and glide across entire continents. The skies were alive, with wings and cries, shadows crossing rivers, silhouettes against the setting sun. But in the forests, another story was unfolding. Small feathered dinosaurs were taking to the air. At first, feathers were not for flight. They were for warmth, for display, for protection. But in some May, feathers lengthened, forming veins that caught the wind. Archaeopteryx, from the late Jurassic, is one of the earliest known birds, with teeth in its jaws, claws upon its wings, and a long bony tail. It was still dinosaur, but also bird. It glided from tree to tree, flapping awkwardly, yet free in a new way. From such beginnings came the birds we know today. The sky, once only the realm of insects, became crowded with wings of many kinds. Pterosaurs, masters of the open air, birds, children of the dinosaurs, filling niches of forest and plain. Together, they painted the skies with motion. The age of dinosaurs was not only an age of giants on land, it was also an age of wings, of creatures who looked to the horizon and found freedom there. For over 150 million years, the skies belonged to them, until one day, the skies changed forever. While dinosaurs ruled the land, and pterosaurs ruled the skies, the seas belonged to others. The oceans of the Mesozoic were vast and full of giants, reptiles that were not dinosaurs, but shared their age. Ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs, Mosasaurus, creatures built for the water, masters of the deep. The ichthyosaurs were among the earliest, their bodies sleek, shaped like dolphins, but reptilian to the core. They had long snouts, filled with sharp teeth, perfect for catching fish and squid. They gave birth to live young, tail first, so the baby would not drown. A remarkable adaptation for a reptile returning to the sea. Some were small, only a meter long. Others, like Shonosaurus, stretched over 20 meters, gentle giants, cruising the open oceans. For millions of years, ichthyosaurs were the dominant marine reptiles. Swift, graceful, efficient. Then came the plesiosaurs, with wide bodies, 4 powerful flippers, and necks that stretched impossibly long. Elasmosaurus had over 70 vertebrae in its neck. It could sweep through schools of fish, striking with lightning speed. Others had shorter necks and larger heads, built for crushing prey. They moved slowly when they wished, but in bursts. They could lunge with terrifying force. Sailors in later ages would tell tales of sea serpents, perhaps echoes of these ancient forms that once haunted the deep. In the Cretaceous, another lineage appeared, the Mosasaurs. They were true lords of the sea. Long bodies, powerful tails, double-hinged jaws that could open wide, swallowing prey whole. Mosasaurus itself was over 15 meters long, a predator at the very top of the marine food chain. It hunted fish, squid, even other marine reptiles. The oceans of the late Mesozoic were their kingdom, and nothing swam safe from them. Around these giants swam countless others, ammonites, with coiled shells, drifted in vast numbers, their spirals glittering in the sunlit waves. Belemnites, relatives of squid, shot through the water with jet propulsion. Sharks prowled the depths, some small, some massive. The seas were alive with movement, with color, with predators and prey. Standing on the shore of a Jurassic or Cretaceous sea, you would see shadows beneath the waves, long necks rising, fins cutting the surface, tails thrashing as giants pursued their prey. Above, pterosaurs dived from the cliffs, catching fish in their beaks. The line between sea and sky was alive with motion, with struggle, with survival. The age of dinosaurs was not only about the land, it was about oceans filled with hunters, about seas ruled by reptiles, about a blue world as wild as any forest. For 180 million years, the oceans of the Mesozoic belonged to these lords of the sea, and as long as they swam, the world was theirs. The Jurassic passed, and the Cretaceous began, a new age, richer, greener, more diverse than ever before. The continents had drifted farther apart. Seas divided the lands. New coastlines formed, and climates varied across the world. Where once Pangaea had been one, now the Earth was becoming many. And with these changes came new opportunities. The plants themselves were changing. For millions of years, conifers and cycads, ferns and ginkgos, had filled the forests. But in the Cretaceous, a new kind of plant appeared, flowering plants, angiosperms. They spread quickly, covering the land with blossoms, colors, and scents. They offered nectar to insects, seeds within fruit, and a new partnership began between plants and pollinators, bees, butterflies, beetles, flies, all played their part. And the dinosaurs lived among this rising world of flowers. The herbivores of the Cretaceous were more diverse than ever. Triceratops, with its great frill and 3 horns upon its face, browsed in herds across the plains. Ankylosaurs, armored like tanks, with clubs upon their tails, moved slowly, but were nearly unstoppable. Hadrosaurs, the duck-billed dinosaurs, lived in vast numbers, their crests resonating with sound, calling to one another across valleys. Voices of the herds, ceratopsians, Saurolophus, Parasaurolophus, Corythosaurus, each with its own shape, its own call, its own place in the chorus of the Cretaceous. And among them still strode the sauropods, titanosaurs, the last of the long-necked giants, some heavier than any land animal before or since. The land shook beneath their steps. The forests parted for their feeding. But the predators, too, were mighty. Tyrannosaurus rex, the king of the tyrant lizards, with jaws that could crush bone, with eyes that faced forward, hunting with precision, or scavenging with power. Smaller tyrannosaurs ran with speed, snapping at prey with sharp teeth. Dromaeosaurs, the raptors, feathered, swift, smart, with sickle-shaped claws upon their feet. They hunted in packs, driving prey into confusion, leaping upon them with deadly force. From the forests of Asia to the plains of North America, predators and prey balanced in eternal contest. The skies, too, were alive. Pterosaurs reached their greatest forms, some tiny, some vast. From the cliffs of ancient seas to the inland rivers, they soared. And birds, the children of feathered dinosaurs, grew more diverse. They filled the trees, the marshes, the skies themselves. From Archaeopteryx to Ichthyornis, from small gliders to skilled flyers, they began to claim the skies as their own. And in the seas, the mosasaurs ruled, alongside great sharks and giant turtles. The oceans of the Cretaceous were more dangerous than ever. The Cretaceous world was a kingdom of diversity. Flowers bloomed, forests thickened, herds thundered, predators stalked, wings filled the skies, and seas boiled with hunters. It was the high point of the dinosaurs, the golden age, the height of their power. But even in this abundance, change was coming. Far away, in the silence of space, a rock was moving toward Earth, and the age of dinosaurs was running out of time. Dinosaurs were not only giants, not only hunters, not only herds that thundered across the land. They were living beings, with senses, with awareness, with intelligence suited to their world. To understand them, we must step into their perception, see through their eyes, hear with their ears, feel with their skin, and think with their minds. Sight. Dinosaurs saw the world, much as birds do today, for birds are their descendants, and their eyes are windows into the past. Many dinosaurs had large eyes, facing forward or to the sides, depending on their role. Predators, like dromaeosaurs and tyrannosaurs, had eyes facing forward, granting depth perception, the ability to judge distance, to strike with precision. Herbivores, like hadrosaurs and sauropods, had eyes more to the sides, granting wide fields of view, the ability to spot danger from afar. Color vision, too, was likely theirs. Birds see colors beyond our range, into the ultraviolet, and dinosaurs may have shared this gift. To them, the world was not only green and brown, but alive with patterns of light invisible to us. Hearing, skulls and inner ear bones tell us that many dinosaurs could hear well, some low rumbles, some high calls. Hadrosaurs with their crests may have resonated deep sounds, carrying across valleys, communicating with herds far away. Predators may have heard the rustle of prey, even at night, or in thick forests. Sound was a language, and they spoke it in many ways. Smell. The olfactory bulbs of tyrannosaurs were large, suggesting a keen sense of smell. They could track carcasses for miles, or sense prey hidden in the brush. Herbivores, too, may have used smell to find the best plants, or to recognize members of their herds. The air carried more than scent. It carried survival. Touch. Feathers covered many theropods, some simple, some complex. They may have been sensitive to wind, to touch, to contact with others. Skin impressions show that some had scales, armored hide, bony plates and spikes. Each part of their bodies, a surface of sensation, a boundary between self and world. Intelligence. What of their minds? Were dinosaurs clever, or were they only instinct? The truth lies between. Some dinosaurs had small brains, relative to body size. Like the great sauropods, their strength was not in thought, but in endurance, in sheer size. Others, like troodontids, had larger brains for their size. Perhaps among the most intelligent of dinosaurs, they may have hunted in groups, communicated with calls, even shown problem-solving abilities, not unlike crows or ravens today. Raptors, too, with sharp eyes and quick bodies, show signs of higher awareness. Their packs may have coordinated. Their hunts may have required thought. Even herbivores show signs of social intelligence, moving in herds, protecting their young, following leaders. Intelligence was not one thing. It was many forms, each suited to survival. The world of dinosaurs was alive with perception. They saw colors beyond our sight. They heard voices across distance. They smelled prey and kin. They touched with feathers and scales. They thought in ways simple and complex. To imagine them as dull or slow is to misunderstand. They were not only beasts of size, they were beings of sense, of awareness. Their intelligence was not ours, but it was real, and it served them. For over 160 million years, dinosaurs were not only giants, not only predators and prey, they were also parents. They were young once. They grew. They lived full lives. To understand them, we must see their beginnings, their growth, their families, their end. The egg. All dinosaurs were born from eggs, some small as a fist, some large as a football, some so heavy that 2 hands were needed to lift them. The shells were hard, but porous, allowing air and water to pass, protecting the fragile life inside. Fossil nests show us that many dinosaurs laid their eggs in groups. Some buried them in sand, letting the sun warm them. Others arranged them in circles, perhaps guarding them with care. In places like Mongolia, whole nests have been found, eggs still in clusters, and sometimes a parent's bones above, as if shielding them to the very end. The hatchling. From these eggs, small dinosaurs emerged, helpless at first, eyes closed, bones soft, calling to their parents with tiny voices. Some species, like Maiasaura, the good mother lizard, built nests of plants and returned with food, feeding their young until they grew strong. Others may have left their eggs to fate, trusting warmth and numbers to ensure survival. But whether guarded or abandoned, hatchlings faced a dangerous world. Predators lurked. Weather threatened. Hunger was constant. Only the strongest, the luckiest, would survive. Growth. Those that did survive grew quickly. Bones tell us that many dinosaurs grew faster than reptiles today, more like birds or mammals. A hatchling could double in size within a year. And in the case of giants like sauropods, they grew from eggs no larger than a basketball to adults heavier than a house. In just decades, their bones show growth rings, like trees, marking seasons of abundance and seasons of hardship. Some slowed their growth in drought, only to surge again when food returned. Adulthood. As they grew, they joined herds or packs, learning to feed, to migrate, to survive with others. Young hadrosaurs moved with the herd, protected by the adults at the edges. Young raptors may have trained together, practicing the skills of the hunt. For some species, adulthood brought crests, horns, frills, bright feathers, ornaments for display, weapons for defense, signals of strength. These features told rivals who was strong, told mates who was ready, told the herd who belonged. Life was not only survival, it was also competition for love, for place, for recognition. Old age. Few reached it. Predators struck. Storms raged. Disease weakened. But some endured. Their bones show healed injuries, broken limbs that mended, bite marks that closed, signs that they lived on, even after pain. Perhaps herds cared for the weak. Perhaps the old found safe places to rest. And when they died, their bodies returned to the earth, feeding rivers, feeding soil, feeding the future. The cycle. Egg, hatchling, growth, adulthood, old age. The cycle of dinosaurs was not so different from ours. They lived with care. They lived with struggle. They lived with growth and change. They were not only monsters of size, they were families, communities, generations linked together. Their lives remind us that even in an age of giants, the smallest egg the smallest voice, could grow into something mighty. Dinosaurs lived in a world of green, a world shaped by plants. And in turn, they shaped the plants themselves. For without plants, there could be no herbivores. And without herbivores, there could be no predators. The story of dinosaurs is also the story of forests, of meadows, of riversides filled with ferns, of plains filled with flowers. In the Triassic and Jurassic, plants were ancient lineages. Conifers rose high. Cycads thickened the forests. Ginkgo trees spread their fans of leaves. Ferns carpeted the ground. Sauropods, with necks that reached to the sky, fed on the tops of conifers, stripping branches clean. Smaller herbivores browsed lower, nibbling ferns and cycads, clearing the underbrush. Together, they shaped the forest, opening paths with every bite, every step. Predators followed, their prey drawn to the same green havens. In the Cretaceous, a new chapter began. The flowering plants appeared, angiosperms, with bright blossoms, sweet nectar, and fruit-filled seeds. They spread across the world, quickly, efficiently. Insects carried their pollen. Birds and small reptiles ate their fruit. And dinosaurs lived among their colors. Hadrosaurs fed on their leaves. Ceratopsians browsed in fields of blooms. Small herbivores carried seeds in their guts, spreading plants far and wide. Even predators were part of this exchange, for in feeding on herbivores, they helped shape which plants survived, which flourished, which vanished. The partnership was endless. Plants gave food, shelter, and air itself. Dinosaurs gave pruning, fertilizing, and dispersal of seeds. A herd of sauropods could transform a forest in days, opening clearings that let light fall to the ground, where flowers could bloom. A herd of hadrosaurs could graze across plains, spreading seeds in their dung, watering them as they passed. In this way, dinosaurs and plants were partners. In the shaping of their world, the evidence remains in fossils, petrified forests, where roots and stumps mark ancient ecosystems. Fossilized pollen, carried in stone, recording the spread of flowers. Fossil dung, coprolites, preserving plant fragments, showing what was eaten and how it was digested. Even stomach contents, frozen in time, tell us what a dinosaur's last meal was. The green world of dinosaurs was not silent. Leaves rustled in winds. Flowers opened in sunlight. Forests breathed with life. And every dinosaur, from the smallest hatchling to the greatest giant, lived within this rhythm. They were not separate from it. They were part of it. Plants fed them. Plants sheltered them. Plants shaped them. And they, in turn, shaped the plants. The world of dinosaurs was a living partnership of leaf and tooth, of root and claw, of flower and feather. Together, they made the Mesozoic world a place of endless renewal and endless change. The sun rises over a world long vanished, a world of giants and shadows, the world of the dinosaurs. Morning, mist clings to the river. The forest is quiet. Then the ground begins to tremble. A herd of sauropods move slowly through the trees, their long necks sweeping across the canopy, pulling down branches heavy with needles and leaves. Each step leaves a footprint, deep and wide, that will one day turn to stone. Nearby, a group of hadrosaurs awakens, duck-billed faces lifted to the dawn. They call to one another, voices resonating through their hollow crests, low sounds that roll like thunder across the valley. In the underbrush, A clutch of young raptors emerges from the nest, their feathers still soft, their movements unsteady. They practice short leaps, snapping at insects in the grass, learning the skills of hunters that will one day rule the forest. Midday, the sun climbs high. The air shimmers with heat. The herds move toward water. Triceratops gather at the riverbank, their frills bright in the light, their horns glinting as they lower their heads to drink. A young one strays too far, and the forest stirs. From the shadows, a predator watches. Tyrannosaurus rex, eyes forward, muscles coiled, its breath steady, its nostrils wide. It waits for the right moment. The herd senses danger. Adults close ranks, horns outward, tails lashing. The young one calls and is pulled back to safety. The predator steps into the light, its size immense, its teeth shining. But today, it does not strike. The herd is too strong. It turns away, seeking easier prey. Life and death, balanced once more. Afternoon. Heat settles on the plains. Pterosaurs circle above, their shadows sliding over the ground. They dive toward the river, snatching fish in long beaks, wings flashing in the sun. In the forest, stegosaurs browse quietly, their plated backs catching the light, their spiked tails swinging lazily, a warning to any who draw too near. Among them, small mammals dart through the ferns, quick and quiet, living in the shadows of giants. Evening, the light turns golden. Shadows grow long. The herds move again, toward safe places to rest. Hadrosaurs call, their voices echoing across the plain. Parents gather young close. Noses nuzzle, tails brush against one another. In the distance, ceratopsians clash, horns locking, frills flaring with color, fighting for dominance, for the right to lead, for the right to mate. Dust rises with their struggle. The sound carries far, until one yields, and the herd settles once more. Night, the sun sets, the moon rises, the world changes. The day's giants rest, but others awaken. Small predators slip from the shadows, their eyes glinting in the starlight, feathers catching faint silver light. They move in silence, through the ferns and grass. By the river, a pair of tyrannosaurs hunt in the dark. Their smell guides them. Their ears catch every rustle. They move slowly, then strike with power. The cries echo, then fade, and silence returns. Above, owls do not yet fly, but early birds settle in branches, tucking heads beneath wings, while pterosaurs glide across the moonlit sky, their silhouettes vast and eerie. The night belongs to hunters, but also to survivors. And so the day ends. In the world of the dinosaurs, a cycle of light and dark, of hunger and rest, of danger and safety. Each sunrise brought struggle. Each sunset brought silence. And for millions of years, this rhythm continued. A day in the life of dinosaurs was not so different from a day in our own lives, but lived on a scale of giants, in a world we can only imagine. For over 160 million years, dinosaurs ruled the land. They grew into giants. They filled forests and plains. They soared as birds and pterosaurs. They swam as lords of the sea. But no reign lasts forever. The end came suddenly, and with violence. From beyond the sky, 66 million years ago, the age of dinosaurs faced its final dawn. Far away, a rock was moving through space, a mountain of stone and metal, 10 kilometers wide, unseen by any eye, unheard by any ear. It crossed the void in silence, until it reached the earth. The impact. It struck what is now Mexico, at a place called Chicxulub, with the force of billions of bombs. The sea boiled, mountains of water rose, forests ignited, the sky turned to fire, shockwaves raced across continents, ash and rock were thrown into the air. The day became night, the world became cold, plants withered, animals starved. The balance broke, but the asteroid was not the only threat. Even before its strike, the Earth was restless. In India, vast volcanoes erupted, the Deccan traps, flooding the land with lava, filling the air with ash and poison, changing the climate over centuries. Seas rose and fell, habitats shifted. Many species were already struggling. The asteroid was the final blow, the aftermath. In the days that followed, wildfires spread across continents. Ash blocked the sun. Rains turned to acid. The air chilled. Food chains collapsed. Plants died without sunlight. Herbivores starved. Predators followed, from the mightiest tyrannosaur to the smallest hatchling. The age of dinosaurs came crashing down, but not all vanished. Some creatures endured. Small mammals, hiding in burrows, feeding on seeds and insects, waiting in the dark. Crocodiles, safe in rivers and swamps, capable of fasting for months. Turtles, lizards, frogs, fish in the seas. And among the dinosaurs themselves, one lineage survived. The birds, feathered descendants of small theropods. Light, adaptable, able to eat many foods, able to fly to new places. They carried the legacy of dinosaurs through the darkness, into the age that followed. The silence, when the fires faded, when the skies cleared, when the dust settled. The world was different. No herds of hadrosaurs, no herds of ceratopsians, no giants shaking the ground, no tyrants stalking the forests. The age of dinosaurs had ended, but life itself continued, and in the space left behind, new lineages rose. Mammals grew larger, forests regrew, birds filled the skies. The world turned another page. The end of the dinosaurs was not the end of life. It was change, sudden, violent, but change all the same. Their time was long, their story magnificent, and though their reign ended in fire, their legacy lives on. In the wings of every bird, in the fossils that speak from stone, in the imagination of humankind. The dinosaurs are gone, but never forgotten. The age of dinosaurs ended 66 million years ago, but their story did not vanish. It lives on, in stone, in wings, and in us. The fossils, buried in rock, their bones tell stories. Each bone, a page of history. Each footprint, a step in time. From deserts of Mongolia to cliffs of Argentina, from the badlands of North America to the coasts of Europe, fossils have been found, carrying the memory of giants. They show us their shapes, their teeth, their claws, their eggs, their nests. They reveal skin impressions, feathers pressed into stone, stomachs filled with their last meals. The rocks are a library, and paleontologists are the readers. Piece by piece, bone by bone, they bring the past to life again. The descendants. Not all dinosaurs vanished. One branch lived on. The birds, every sparrow, every eagle, every hummingbird, is a living dinosaur. They inherited feathers, hollow bones, keen senses. They sing in forests. They soar above seas. They walk among us every day. When we hear a bird's call, we are hearing the last voices of the dinosaur age. The influence. Dinosaurs live also in human imagination, in stories told around fires, of dragons and monsters, perhaps born of fossil bones, unearthed long before science, in books and films that give them shape again, as terrors, as wonders, as reminders of a world lost. Children play with their forms. Museums display their skeletons. Artists paint them in color and life. They remind us that the world is older, stranger, and more magnificent than we dream. The science. Dinosaurs changed how we see life. They show us that dominance can last millions of years, yet still end in a moment. They show us that extinction and survival are both parts of nature. They show us that birds, common and ordinary, carry the flame of giants. And they remind us that our own time on Earth is brief, fragile, and precious. The legacy. The dinosaurs are gone, but their story continues. In every fossil displayed, in every bird in the sky, in every human thought that wonders what the world was like before us. They teach us humility. They teach us awe. They teach us the power of change. The giants may have fallen, but they are not lost. They live in memory. They live in science. They live in the beating wings of sparrows, in the soaring flight of eagles. And as long as we remember, as long as we imagine, dinosaurs will never truly die. The story of dinosaurs is the story of life itself, its rise, its glory, its loss, and its legacy. And though their world is gone, their echoes remain. In stone, in sky, in us. Thank you for joining us. Here at Starry Sleep, together, we walked through the age of dinosaurs, a world of giants, and of ancient mysteries. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up. It helps more dreamers discover Starry Sleep. And if you would like to hear more about dinosaurs, nature, and the secrets of life on Earth, don't forget to subscribe. Before you go, share in the comments which dinosaur is your favorite and why. Until next time, rest well, dream deeply, and may your dreams carry you back to the lost world of the dinosaurs.